So today we're going to talk about sleep, and then have our small table discussions and open mic, and then optional trivia. As a icebreaker, before I start, I'd like everyone at their own table to introduce themselves and in no more than 2 minutes explain what you most like about living in the villages. At your own table, I'd like you to go in a circle, give your name, which of course is right there, but give it anyway, and what you like most about living in the villages. Just keep it very brief.
It's quite interesting at camp. Physically
Okay, I didn't want to come to Florida. I hate Florida. And I was forced down here. Now I am the biggest advocate of Florida. I didn't go to college, okay? New Jersey. And I didn't go to college. So when I came down here, I got involved in these discussion groups. I go to every discussion group there is because I feel like I'm going to college and I'm listening to these wonderful people that we have down here giving lectures on subjects they knew nothing about. Because 6 months of research and gave a presentation. I am impressed with that. I mean, some people are experts in the subject they're speaking about, but not everybody. I admire people that can get up and give a lecture on their research thing. It's fabulous. And then but I love the lifestyle.
Why don't you take a chair?
for sleep. He is, in fact, a professor at Berkeley in both psychology and neurology. So I want to just start by saying that there's been a lot of research in sleep lately, and it's being seen more and more as the foundation of physical and emotional health. Deprivation of sleep affects your cardiovascular system, your immune system, your blood sugar, your hormone health, your emotional and brain health, and your memory and learning, which you may know, whatever you learn during a day, that particular night, and only that night, does your brain decide whether to keep it or toss it. So if you learn some great stuff and then you sleep poorly, you won't remember much of it. And unfortunately, older adults have much greater problems with sleep. There's a significant decline in deep sleep for the seniors, and just a general decline in quality of sleep, especially in the second half of the night, which fortunately is really the first 3 hours of sleep where most good stuff happens, so we have at least that going for us. I want to go over protocols that are factoring in all the newest research on sleep, and yet they're very basic and simple. This does not have to do with disorders. If someone has a snoring issue, sleep apnea, etc., that has to be addressed medically. First one is regularity, and apparently it is absolutely the most important that every day, weekends count too, every day you try to go to sleep, or at least go to bed at the same time, and always get up the same time in the morning. It ties into your associative learning, and again, I can't overemphasize it. The second one is darkness and light. There are actually cells in the eye that are not related to images, they're just related to monitoring light and sending signals to the brain. So it's very important that you have a very dark room to sleep, and you should at least dim your lights down to 50% an hour before sleep. I mean, basically, you want the melatonin rushing, and by the way, don't take melatonin, that's another thing. But red and yellow lights signal you to produce more melatonin and get sleepier. So I, for instance, have a lamp that has a day and an evening setting. Day is bright blue light, and evening is more yellow, red tones. That's ideal mood light, which puts out the same, I don't know, oh, what do you call it, the same light wave as blue light. And interestingly enough, too, if the blue light that you get, say in the evening, accidentally is above your head, that makes it worse because we're programmed to have blue light coming from above us to tell us it's time to wake up. Another suggestion, don't look at your clocks. If you tend to always wake up at 3:30, don't check that it's 3:30 because again, we're talking about associative learning. You're just reinforcing with your brain that you wake up every night at 3 o'clock. Next, I want to talk about alcohol, caffeine, and cannabis, and this is not good news. You should not have any caffeine. You should stop your caffeine 10 hours before bed. If caffeine has, which I'm told it does, a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, that means it has a quarter life of 10 to 12 hours. In other words, when you go to bed, you have a quarter of the effect of every cup of coffee you had. So if you had 4 cups close to noon, it's like drinking a full cup of coffee as you're going to bed. That's how much it's still in your system. Alcohol, this is the really bad news, but you probably heard it. The research on alcohol is really discouraging for those of us who like to drink. It seems to have benefits for sleep in that it can relax you, kind of shut down your prefrontal cortex busyness, but it really messes with your REM sleep, which the caffeine does also. And the sleep, basically you can have sleep onset problems, meaning it's really hard to fall asleep. Sleep maintenance problems, meaning you wake up a lot during the night, or even just once, but for a period of time. Or sleep quality, meaning you don't get restorative sleep. You may sleep a long time, you may go to sleep easily, but you're not getting enough REM sleep, and you don't feel refreshed in the morning. So alcohol is a sedative, and sedatives are not the same as sleep. Your brain, it is knocking out a little bit, but it's not doing what you need. For one thing, after drinking alcohol, you're more likely to have little tiny wake-ups during the night, which you can't even remember. And again, changes your REM sleep, and your REM sleep is where the important stuff happens. Cannabis also disrupts REM sleep. A lot of people use it to go to sleep, but they are not getting high-quality sleep. However, the research on CBD, which is CBD without the THC, you don't get high, you just get the effects of the CBD. The research is looking pretty positive, and they're doing more of it and looking at ways that it can be really prescribed for sleep. It, interestingly enough, affects the temperature. Gets rid of anxiety and lowers your temperature. Temperature, you need to drop about 2 degrees Fahrenheit height to fall asleep well. And there are different ways to do that. Some people actually warm up in order to cool. Your whole body doesn't have to be cool, but your brain and your core need to drop. So if you take a hot bath, for instance, you have more vasodilation, and that sucks heat away from the central body. At least try to turn your thermostat down and let it be cooler at night. Some other things I wanted to mention not a big deal. People vary genetically. Some need to eat 3 hours before sleep, or it's a problem. Others, an hour before sleep. High sugar foods, interestingly enough, though, can be metabolically active and increase your temperature, which then can affect your sleep, because your temperature needs to stay cool during the night. Augmentation of sleep research, they're working on lots of things: acoustical stimulation, kinesthetic, thermal, but most encouraging, electric stimulation of the brain, transcranial direct current. And Matt Walker's actually seen that as a business opportunity. He said, however, that if you find on Amazon or somewhere somebody claiming that they have something that stimulates you and helps with sleep, they don't. The research is not at that point, so don't buy it. White noise research is equivocal. Pink noise shows more potential. It's recommended that you learn your chronotype, which means basically whether you get tired early or late, whether you're a day or night person, and try to coordinate your sleep with your type so you're not fighting yourself. Naps, no more than half an hour, and not late in the afternoon, unless you want to affect sleep. Supplements, too much to go over. I wrote a sheet of all the recommended supplements to help with sleep, but it's recommended you do the protocols first, and only if those fail do you start pouring stuff into your body. So if you're interested in that, just take a picture of the list on the counter. So for a brief topic for discussion, I'd like you to think about whether you or a friend of yours has a sleep problem, and then whether it's sleep onset or maintenance or unrefreshing sleep, and maybe what from this talk could be a useful tool. So we'll take a few minutes for table discussion.
I'd like to share something with you that happened to me. My wife said I snore, and when I snore, she belts me, and I wake up. She's so turned or something. I don't snore. You snore. We're fighting over this. And one day she said, "You're not only snoring. Every once in a while you get up and you go, I'm searching." So she said, "I'm getting scared." I said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with that." So finally, I went to see a pulmonologist, I guess it is, about 4:41, and he says, "All right, we're going to put you in a sleep clinic." So I went to the sleep clinic, laid down, wired me up. I couldn't get to sleep. Normally I get to sleep like that, okay? 5 o'clock he comes in and he says, "Okay, so we're finished." I said, "I didn't even sleep." He says, "Oh yes you did." I said, "Bullshit." I said, "I didn't sleep the whole night. I thought I was awake." He said, "Well, pulmonologist will read the data. You'll see." So I think my next appointment was 3 weeks later. I saw him and he gets on the computer and shows this line where I'm sleeping. And then there's a big yellow line. There's lines like this. What it was showing me, I wasn't getting oxygen in my body. And when I was snoring, you could see the snoring. You could see that. So it showed me that this UFC happened. So now I have to go again to the sleep clinic. And they're gonna measure me or something like that. I guess they're gonna again put all that stuff on me again.
Please make sure that everyone at your table has had an opportunity to speak before we want to pick up. Okay. Okay, so we wind up the conversation and we're going to move on to questions. But first, since I didn't really look at my notes much, just listening to my table, various things came up that I had wanted to say. So just a few of the comments. In terms of light, no TV, computer, or phone, and the work at that last hour, at least. And the worst thing, if you can't Now, there are settings in the phone that can help day setting, night setting, and it's automatic. I have yellow glasses, or make it yellow light, screen out blue light, that I sometimes use for TV. I'm not sure how effective they are, but I'm sure they help somewhat. Make sure you don't watch TV in your bed. Basically, your bed is for sleep and, of course, sex. We hope. It's associative learning. If you associate being in bed with being awake, then when you get in bed, you're much more inclined to be awake. So keep your bed and bedroom for sleep. Another point, if you wake up during the night or go to bed at night and you've been there for 30 minutes and can't go to sleep, get up. Read a book in soft yellow light or listen to music, and don't go back to bed until you're truly sleepy. Again, associative learning. Another point I want to make is reflection. Almost everyone has a tendency to do their reflecting on that day, on the next day, their planning, their memories, when they go to bed. You don't want to do that. Either set aside a time before that, maybe to journal a little bit and reflect, but don't do it in bed. That's where, if your brain's going, you do breathing exercises, meditation, body scan, etc. It's really important. Someone asked about half-life of alcohol, and I don't have an answer, but 1 glass of alcohol at noon with lunch has very, very specific detrimental effects on your REM sleep. So, sorry, but
So you should have a mimosa.
it's not your friend at lunch at noon. But, you know, if you're going to drink, they say have a glass of wine with lunch, but, you know, it's not too attractive. Well, it does, it also... He's saying that the half-life varies a lot. It also varies with caffeine. And that's something, you know, it's genetic. Some people can drink more caffeine in the afternoon and fall right to sleep, and others can barely drink it in the morning. Speaking of caffeine, we are switching over to decaffeinated coffee. So if you need leaded coffee, you drink that before you come. But there's so many, especially women with osteoporosis, that simply can't drink caffeine. Whereas people who like caffeine can at least drink the decaffeinated. Do we have any questions? And then we'll move to comments. Pink noise. Like, have you listened to white noise? It's kind of, it's just a variation. It's similar. Yes, Paul.
I think I heard you say never take melatonin pills. Could you tell us more about melatonin pills?
Yes, melatonin is marketed. It's all advertising. If you want things that really have shown positive research results, look at the sheet on the table. Melatonin has not looked effective in the studies that have been done. In addition, it has, I forget, 5 or 10 or maybe more times the melatonin that your body produces. And I don't think that's a great idea. My best guess is if it does take effect, your own body is going to not be as responsive in producing its until your whole body is very relaxed. It relaxes you, but it's also getting your mind off itself. Speaking of which, reflection is our enemy. How many here wake up during the night and start thinking about things? Okay. How many have sleep onset issues? They have difficulty getting to sleep. How many seem to get to sleep? Sleep plenty of hours, but wake up unrefreshed. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Mike?
I want to share with you something that works for me. You know, I'm sitting there watching television, thank you, watching television, and I can't keep my eyes open. It's time to go to sleep, so I get in bed, and zing, I'm thinking about something else, something good or something bad. Well, here's the solution. You do the ABC game. You take a category like states, countries, cities in Florida, adverbs, colors, and so on. Let's say you choose colors. A is for amber, B is for blue, C is for crimson. You go through it, and pretty soon your mind is doing what it's supposed to do, sleeping.
Thank you, Mike. There are some excellent apps. One is Waking Up, and one is called Calm. And they have, if you play the app, it has your music or meditations. You pick one specifically to focus on and to relax and to be more able to fall asleep. I strongly recommend both of them. Yes, Bobby?
Well, this goes along with Mike's.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were next.
I memorized the presidents in order,
I did that once too.
and so I can still, he said, don't tell him it's because I snore, but it's because he snored, and I was awake, and so, so the first night I said, well, and I do the sort of the things that Mike suggested, but I was like, let's try to make something useful out of this lack of sleep because he's snoring. So I learned like the first 5 presidents. The next night I added the next 5, so I can do that. First president to last president in order. And so that's what I do now. And usually by the time I get to, I don't know, maybe Garfield, then I'm asleep. So, but anyway, that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Anne.
There's this commercial with Jennifer Aniston tossing in her bed, and she's listening to this, her phone, it's reading her a bedtime story. It's called the Sleep App. And the Sleep App announces the end. You are the first person who has reached the end of the Sleep App. I know it's disappointing. Maybe you could try hot tea or something, but and continues on with that. And I forget what they were advertising, but I thought it was a riot.
I just want to ask you, dreams, okay? I get up in the middle of the night. I always do. I get up in the middle of the night, and I want to come back. Of course, I go back to bed, and I try to reconnect with this dream, and it bothers the heck out of me. I can't remember that dream. What's the deal with people that really dream?
Lucid dreaming.
Am I
where you-
sleeping? Am I in a good sleep? Or am I
It's less effective than regular dreaming. Lucid dreaming, you're not getting as high a quality of REM sleep. So lucid dreaming is really fun. I used to watch my dream and then repeat it and fill in so that I actually analyzed my dreams while I was watching. This is not good for sleep.
What's the difference between a dream and what you said, a lucid?
It's an awareness. It's like you have a separate awareness so that as the dream goes by, you're aware of what's going on instead of only if you wake up you vaguely remember something.
I wouldn't worry about it. You're going to get that 6-7 hours between the recliner and the bed. But I think most of us are so becoming worried that we're not sleeping or we're dreaming too much. Just the heck with it, and go to sleep when you can.
That's a really good point. And then there are a lot of, especially people that have to go to work or have to go to school, they wake up during the night and they go, oh shit, I'm not getting enough sleep. I've got to go to sleep. It doesn't help.
I'd like to talk about melatonin.
Yes.
If you go to any of the stores, any of the grocery stores that sell vitamins, they have a little section of melatonin. There's about a 6-inch section for melatonin for adults and about a 3-foot section for melatonin for kids. What are they doing? What are these parents doing in doping up their children just so that they don't bother them at night? It would seem to me that if the kid can't fall asleep, he hasn't had enough exercise. But evidently, we're doping the kids, the parents, not us.
Well, they
I
have,
agree.
they outlawed laudanum to put your kid to sleep. So
Well, they used to have opium pacifiers, right? So, yeah. Yes.
I find that a cup of hot chocolate is really good for a nice night of sleep.
Yes. It warms you to prepare you to cool. Wait, jump rule. You haven't spoken yet.
Thank you. What happens if you didn't sleep a lot during the night, so you take a nap in the afternoon? How does that affect your sleep?
Well, ideally, regardless of how you slept, you still stay awake until your regular bedtime because you're trying to imprint that in your brain. If you have to take a nap, try to take it by early afternoon, not later afternoon, and try to keep it brief because otherwise it's problematic. Absolutely.
An element of science, an element of science is unfortunately money. I read before I came here that the sleep industry last year was a $585 billion industry last year, and this year it's anticipated that the sleep industry is going to be a $1 trillion industry. And I'm concerned about all the recommendations regarding sleep if they're funded by such huge amounts of money. $1 trillion is about $10,000 per bank account in the United States. So $10,000 per family bank account is funding the sleep industry.
Well, I agree, and all of medicine has become big business, and right at the top, I don't know about the numbers, but it has become business, and one of the biggest things is pushing CPAP machines, being diagnosed with sleep apnea, not trying alternatives, and all these people have CPAP machines, the doctors get regular money from it, huge industry, so be careful if you're told you need one.
What about people that act out their dreams?
That act out their dreams?
Yeah.
You mean that, because most people have, I forget what it is, but something they release that kind of paralyzes them. That's why they're not, sawing the tree in their sleep, just in their mind. So some people do act them out, or even sleepwalk.
What do you do to make that better?
I don't know.
I'll share with the group what I shared at the table here. Actually, I'll add to it. I do have a CPAP machine, got it earlier this year. I resented it, but having had to have a follow-up sleep apnea test because I started out with appliance, which did help. and my condition got worse. I did get a CPAP machine, I have it, and it really does make a huge difference. But I was also going to suggest to the group, in your bathroom light, if you have a dimmer installed on your bathroom light, set it to as low as possible setting, and then turn the power switch off before you go to bed. This way, if there's not enough ambient light from your clock, that should not be pointing right at the bed anyway, and you can't grope into the bathroom, and you don't, even though probably every couple, the toilet seat is down. I keep it down because it's easier to go up and sit down on the toilet than to need to turn on the light so avoid missing the toilet. But if the dimmer is set at its lowest possible setting, you won't have that bright light to awaken you even more so.
I agree. I didn't mean to infer just that CPAP machines can't be extremely useful. Just to be cautious and make sure you're one of the people that really needs one.
So I'm hearing comments about CPAP machine, which I had, and discussed it here at the table. I gave up on that when I discovered a snore guard. My initial one, my insurance company paid for. Dang thing fell on hard. It's very durable, but it fell on concrete and it broke. So I discovered that there is. I got the lab to redo it. It didn't cost me anything. But there is a dentist in Orlando, I'm told, who is what's called a Medicare approved dentist who creates these snore guards and will accept Medicare. Now, a snore guard, in my mind, is so much better than a CPAP if it works for you, if you're willing to do it. It's like the tube thing that he had as a kid. What do they call it? The retainer. Like a retainer.
Yeah.
Pulls your jaw out. And so I would recommend that you look into snore guard because if it works for you, if you're willing to do it, which to me is much easier than that dentist CPAP, to say nothing of keeping it clean.
Yeah, a lot of people
And
just
carrying it
can't
around
stand
and the noise and
the
all the
mask
rest
on
of
their
it.
face.
And you get a sleep test to see if it works and how it works and whatnot. So I recommend that so much.
I personally used a CPAP for a while, and I was told you may not be able to stand the mask. So I would close my eyes and picture that I was scuba diving, and then this was my mask. It worked for me to make that. But then basically I discovered that I only have sleep apnea if I sleep on my back. So I found a vest, very comfortable, and in the back is a lacrosse ball. So when I start to roll onto my back, it's like, oops. So, there are a lot of solutions out there. Yes, Bob?
I just want to interpose the following. Sleep apnea is in fact a potentially fatal illness. People die from it. Okay? Not many, but a much higher percentage than people that don't have it. It's fine to talk about things that work for you. Don't assume that what works for you works for someone else. Okay?
Of course, yeah.
You should get professional advice with regard to what you're at. It's not like there's one diagnosis, one risk level. There are varying risk levels for people with sleep apnea. And your attention to what type of oxygenation supplement you do or don't need varies with that. So don't fly alone. Don't solo before you actually have a pilot in the plane with you.
And Bo, is it correct? I heard somewhere that most heart attacks during the night are actually from sleep apnea.
That is not proven.
Okay. That's why I asked.
Lots of stuff that
It didn't come
makes
from a
sense.
source
There
I
are lots of
trust.
things that make sense that, by the way, don't pan out. But may or may not be true.
Daniel?
I heard that there's an implant you can get for sleep apnea, but has witnesses.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we are going to have a trivia game, but those who don't enjoy trivia are invited to choose not to do that and perhaps go chat with each other in the front room. So I'll give you a few minutes to decide and make sure we have teams at each table. Probably, Karen.
I had a good sleep about 2 o'clock.
We will not take a break. Thank you so much.
A bunch of things. No. But they wanted her to do another sleep study. Confirm everything.
covering the bones. Number 7, to become weak or swoon. To become weak or swoon. Number 8, the small sac from which a hair grows. Number 9, what do we call the plants native to a geographical area? Plants native to an area. And number 10, a short tale with a moral lesson. Okay, do we need any of those 10 repeated?
Could we have a hint on the flute one?
What's that?
Could we have a hint on the flute one?
It starts with F.
Now I get it.
Okay, now the next 10 will be the general trivia. In which movie